Final question, Secretary Lehman.
Thank you. I would like to ask each of you to address perhaps the obverse of what we've been talking about, and that is the constitutional or the civil rights of the government employees that we have working on these issues. Historically, there's been a doctrine of sovereign immunity that has protected, or state immunity that has protected government employees from personal liability, except in the case of clear criminal activity. And where there's been abuse of people's rights, the government pays, and the government has always been, except in the unique situation of military, the government has been liable to civil action for recovery. All this changed during the 70s and 80s when a series of new pieces of legislation and some subsequent court cases greatly reduced the principle of immunity of officials. And as a result, there were some fairly high-profile cases of officials being sued privately where they were not defended by the government and subjected to financial ruin, in effect. That we have been told and have a witness this afternoon who is going to tell us yet again has had a very significant dampening effect on the willingness of government employees to pursue any issue that might infringe on privacy issues or civil liberties because of their own personal exposure. I know when I was at the Pentagon, as a result of those court cases, an individual who was being sued had to go to the general counsel and petition the general counsel to defend them. And in the case of the one naval officer who was in command of a weapons station, the federal government declined to do that. So my question is, do you see this as a problem? Is it a problem we should address? Because the people we depend on to try to enforce this new effort against our enemies have rights too.
Secretary, let me just say, because we are involved currently in a case before the court concerning damages for Privacy Act violations, we do believe that the federal government should be held responsible when violation is proven, but certainly sympathetic to your concerns about employees of the federal agencies, and I'm frankly not aware of many cases, certainly not in the realm of the types of privacy issues we work on, where specific employees have been held liable. I think there was maybe a high-profile case a few years ago at the IRS concerning taxpayer records, but beyond that, typically fines when they are assessed, and it doesn't happen very often, but they're typically assessed against the agency.
I think I would turn that question a little bit. I haven't, Bivens actions, for example, have a constitutional basis, and so there's some things you couldn't change very easily unless the Supreme Court revisited some of its prior jurisprudence. But at least while I was at DOD, I did not find people being inhibited in their actions, particularly with respect to civil liberties issues, because they thought they were going to be sued personally. Or I heard that expressed much more commonly in the context of environmental disputes. That's where, base commanders would come in and be very worried that they were going to be held criminally liable if something didn't work out exactly right on the base. So I don't, at least personally, I didn't find that to be a real problem. I haven't seen the testimony you're referring to for this afternoon. I do think, though, that individual employees, both currently and former employees, can and do deserve representation from the Justice Department in specific instances where they are asserted to have misbehaved in one way or another, and it's not clear that they have done so. The other point I would make is that I think, and this is perhaps a little bit where maybe Stuart and I agree, sort of, I think that having, one of the problems for employees in this world now is, they look at TIA, they look at some of the other controversies, and there are no rules, and when there are no rules, what you do is kind of go back into your corner. I mean, that's just, self-preservation. And it's not unexpected, and it's the way people are. And, to the extent this commission could do anything, trying to provide, at least urging people to sort of make some, grapple with some of these hard issues and come up with some rules that they then put out, so that people know, what they can and can't do, I think will go a long way towards making us safer and making the individual employee feel like he or she can be an effective government employee.
I do agree, and I don't have anything to add.
Thank you.